So I insert inside the book even other coincidences. For example, on the July 16, 1993, a comet called Shoemaker-Levy precipitated on Jupiter, and so that was a wonderful birthday, my third birthday. And this is the end. It is a text where I explain in a little bit strange sense what the project about. As I say, I love writing, and so I create this dialogue between Albert and Robert. Robert is Robert Oppenheimer, the inventor, the creator of the atomic bomb, and Albert is Albert Einstein. And this is the end, but at the same time it's the beginning of the second volume that I'm working on, because the night of my birth, in England, at Bedbury, they found the crop cycle, one of the biggest crop cycles in the world. And here it is.
Can I ask you, that text with advertising and Robert, what is it about?
Yeah, because not a lot of people know that Albert is one of the first maker of the creation of the atomic bomb, because he was in German with Enrico Fermi, and they thought that Hitler could have created or have the possibility to create the atomic bomb. So they write a letter to Roosevelt, the president of the United States, and say to him to try to create and to work on the energy. On the atomic energy. So they felt guilty, they talked together like friends, and they felt guilty about what they did, and so written.
But you have invented?
Yeah, I invented, yeah. Everything in the book is written by me, apart from this one. Takahashi is one of the survivors of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, and this is an excerpt of this interview, and this one is a quote of Ray Bradbury.
Thank you. Have a seat. So, what are your reflections?
I really like the idea with it and the dualistic approach, but I also feel it's kind of apocalyptic. I don't feel the lightness as a counterpart to the darkness. What do you think about that? Or do you look at the humanity in a very dark way?
Yeah, I'm quite apocalyptic, but there's even desire of discovery of human research and evolution. So obviously I always been fascinating in a bad sense about violence in men. So about war, about assassination, murder, but at the same time I try to create the sense of lightness, as you say. Maybe I failed, I don't know, but I dreamt a lot to be an astronaut, like everyone, I think. So there's this sense of discovering, I don't know, the cosmos, a new land, like the moon in the 1969.
But you still see that as a problem, the science and the evolution?
Yeah, because it's an evolution, but also an involution of the man. At the beginning, there's the monkey that looks at the astronauts, but could be also the inverted. The astronaut to look at the monkey, because in some way we regret we came back.
Anna, do you also view this as something, a dark image, a dark impression?
Yes, I do. It's a very beautiful book. It's very beautiful, so somehow it's a kind of hope in how we have made it in that way. But for me, it is about Hiroshima and the science and everything, but then you were talking about the coincidence. And I don't see that as much, but I think that's a very interesting. I don't see that as much as Hiroshima in the book. I don't know if it is that you wanted to add many things in this. I don't know really.
So he speaks about coincidence. He's obsessed with coincidence.
Yes, and I understand that, but at the same time, it's so much about Hiroshima, for example, that it's really for real somehow. And then, and how do you?
Yeah, Hiroshima was just the consequences of the first atomic test.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you drop a bomb for a scientific research, I don't say that it's right, but at the same time it could be a research. If you drop a bomb upon a city, that was a tragedy. So obviously I research not just the coincidence, but the consequence of this coincidence.
Mm.
You had this text saying a lit candle lights the next one.
Yeah, because in some way it can connect my birth, because the day of your birth you blow the little candles on the cake, but at the same time it's a metaphor, it's a meaning for the present or the past can change the future. A lit candle lit the following.
Yeah. Somehow it's a little bit like poetry, but I think when you have somehow you have like a way of poetry telling your story. But sometimes when it's about Hiroshima, it gets so much about that you lose a little bit about the poetry somehow. So maybe I would like it to be more like poetry and coincidence, and I don't know, I think so.
Yeah, I agree in part in the terms, the fact that there is the starting point of the coincidence to approach the theme of Hiroshima and all the other themes are in the book. They don't come across, I think, to the reader particularly, or they will be hard or less somehow. I don't know, you can make it more explicit, but it's also like at some point that will become irrelevant for the reader. Irrelevant. Because what is interesting is that I mean, when I was looking at the book for the first time, not as a PDF, but in the physical form, it was very interesting as a reflection on the bad things that maybe mankind is able to do, compared to the most beautiful things that we are also able to do, like this. There's some aerial picture of the pyramids, and there's a prehistoric Venus sculpted in rock, and there is some, of course, some horrible pictures from the Second World War. But somehow, following the text as well, he felt that it is about mankind. It is about how humans behave towards ourselves as much as this thing that is alive in a plant. I don't know. It's kind of hard to grasp because it's quite open in terms of the narrative, but still, like maybe some poetry or some text can be like this, and it still can be enjoyable and quite interesting, because it allows you, as it happens with the first book that we saw today, to add your thoughts into it, or you can generate your own thoughts. Well, I got distracted actually by the text. I think you've changed it now, but there was a text inside in an envelope, and I found that very destructive from the actual, just.
So the text in the envelope is part of the book now?
Yeah, I think it was in the center, no?
Yeah, no, at the end. At the sign, there's the dialogue between Albert and Robert.
Yeah.
And the letter?
like a correspondence. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the correspondence. I did read it, but I wanted to that you could share it with the audience first.
Yeah, it's not easy to put the text next to the images.
Yeah, but perhaps that's the job of the designer as well. So it's not maybe it's a building text, so it's an early concern that you can resolve.
But in general, Anna, the problem with having or not having, using or not using text with the photos.
I would like to see more in this, like your storytelling in this poetic way with photography, that I think is very interesting. So in this case I wouldn't add that much text, and I don't think I would add this because I think you should rely on your way of being a poet with photography more and discuss these themes that is important.
I mean, in that sense, I'm just trying to figure out, if I mean, like this is the process, your thought process, in paper, okay, and again, with the idea of this is starting from that coincidence of relating to your birthday. But I think within this whole process, actually, there is something very interesting happening, and it's this idea of the kind of visual language that you're developing. I think there actually there is something quite valuable that you can focus on, and maybe if you, well, I would say if I could, I mean, in my opinion, we would maybe remove everything else and just focus on that. It is interesting that there was a coincidence and everything around it, but actually the story in the end that is here and the way it's told, it may travel farther than if you get stuck on trying to work on it now in the second volume of the coincidence. Because it's very specific and relates to your birthday, but also, of course, to other milestones in the history of mankind.
And that also we all have common, we all have birthdays.
Yeah, but not the same day as the you can always find this kind of...
But then there could be other things that have happened.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe this is something that you can ignore completely or you can reflect on. One more thing just to move on, the cover had some sort of dots and dashes. And I wonder...
this is the first transmitted cosmos.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's hidden inside the book, the real significance.
The what?
Is it inside
the meaning of the cosmos.
Okay, and what is it?
And yeah, because I thought that cosmos, it's a secret language, so it could connect with atomic bombs or top secret research, or I don't know, man in space. They can communicate with voice, just with signal. So yeah, I think this is the cover, not that one.
Okay, so what does it say?
It's there in the letter, and it's what had God wrote, what had God created, and in some way it is similar at the bad side of the man, but even at the good side. It's create evil, but created even a good side of the man. So I thought that could be something that links together these two events.
And what do you think about what Anna said, that to her the part about Hiroshima is sort of getting in the way for the poetry or the
yeah, I understood their point of view, but really I always asked me why the war, and this is an argument that I'm working on the second volume. For example, I'm working on the life story of Hitler. What if Hitler wasn't born? So really to the extract that I read at the beginning, and 26 murder attempts to Hitler failed. So there are coincidences that could change human life or our future, because we are here, but there's someone out there that died in war. So yeah, I'm quite into the war argument. Yeah.
Are you using historic photographs for that project, or are you taking new pictures as well?
No, I like mixing everything, like my personal images or archive images, and especially iconographic images. And maybe not the strongest. There are a lot of strongest pictures of men died in Hiroshima, Nagasaki, but I don't know. I think I'm no one to just a guy working with photography, and I don't know, I have a sort of respect. So I just use something a little bit.
You're a storyteller with photography, even if it's your photography or if it's someone else's.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that makes it a bit more like poetry as well, because you just don't use your own photography.
Yeah, that's what poetry and writer do. They use metaphor with words.
Exactly.
And I would like to use metaphor.
And I
with
think that's the
photography.
reason why I started thinking about poetry when I go through your book.
Yeah.
So you were saying?
I was just thinking about the camera. It's also science or the development of it, and the history of the camera and what it has been used for, and the dark sides of that. Is it something you reflect over?
Yeah, obviously, if you look at the back of the cover, you see all those people looking at the rocket that leaves. So this is, I think that man is fascinating by, I don't know, in this case, by violence, by guns. If we saw the USA, United States.
And the camera is a witness of everything that you are interested in. And if you, when you look at it today, if with all the terror attacks, if we didn't have the cameras that they could show the world that what was going on, then terror wouldn't make any sense at all.
It becomes the main medium. If we see our releases,
it's like a witness.
that they are like, I don't know, it's on stage, it's Hollywood. If we saw at the, I don't know. So yeah, it would be interesting to analyze the camera as a point of view that brings these images to us.
We've heard that readers understand it in a poetic way. They feel and see poetry. But do you also have a political or critical ambition with your project?
Yeah, obviously my left motive is to move people and in some way to change my people. Yesterday I saw the Great Terror of Thomas and Dominique, and it was really touchable. And you look at that face and you know that they are not here, they are killed by who and why, what's the reason, and that's why I put the text inside. Because if you thought of the Great Terror with no words, with no interview, probably they are just faces. It's just accumulation. But if they didn't talk, they are no one. Now we know their story, and I listen every story for all the 10 minutes they told, and it was really touchable. And I'm trying to do it in a different way, maybe more present, more conceptual, if you want to say that, using images that I took. For example, the scars of my grandmother, or the tree is a tree next to my home. It was the metaphor of the cancer that brought by the radiation of the atomic bomb.
I think it's nice that you don't work with the large size of the book, that it's quite small, that you hold it quite close to you when you look at it. So I think the size and the cover things are very, very good.
The past idea was to create like a sort of diary. In fact, inside this book, this dummy, not that what I show you. It's all handwritten. Like a man who drives crazy, asking himself why war, but at the same time don't receive the power of faraway lands, different skies, so you look forward, you look at the infinite, at the cosmos.
And you have your little own scrapbook where you write your notes. I saw that when you started speaking here. Okay.
Yeah, it's all written there.
Okay. Any more comments, reflections from you here? Panel?
I just would say that, I mean, in terms of maybe your practice or just going beyond the book, it will be interesting to be more selective with the amount of text and what the text says, and as opposed to the images, just to find an ideal balance, because I think it's a little bit overwhelming. It kind of reaches that point where
I see it too. I see, yeah.
But on the other hand, you can capitalize on all that visual narrative that you are able to produce so nicely. So it's yeah. I mean, it's the first book.
Yeah, this is the first book.
But and you're working on your second.
Yeah, I'm working on the second volume.